Hello, Ram55 here, and thanks for tuning in. I'm sure we've all had those weeks where nothing seemed to go right. Well, I just had one. This video had been attempted a couple times when I first did the session and drove the Trainz. For some reason, it didn't get recorded, even though I did everything the way I normally do. So through the magic of Trainz Surveyor, I reset all the cars and put them back to where they were and started it all over again. This time it recorded fine, but then I went to produce it on my Power Director 12, and for some reason it just wasn't working right. I have no idea. I hadn't changed anything, but I couldn't actually produce the video. And it took me about 3 days to figure out what was happening, and I still don't understand why, but the files that I put into the Power Director to add to this film weren't working properly. But anyways, I got it all fixed, and anyways, here's the result. This one we're going to call doing some house cleaning. Now, the other day we had Andrew run the local train. He delivered a bunch of cars up to the industries north of Tidewater, and on the way back he dropped off this string of hopper cars full of grain, and they're left on the inbound track here at Tidewater. Well, we got to clear that track to get ready for another train coming in later today. So right now we're watching Donald drag those cars off of the inbound track, and he'll put them on a storage track waiting for another train to take them east. Today's video is going to be all about switching again. So Donald is going to be shuffling these cars around in the yard, and in just a little bit we'll watch Jane get back into action. She's been a busy girl today. She'll pick up a few cars, take them down to the port here at Tidewater, and while she's down there she'll pick up some cars, bring them back here to the yard. Now, when I redesigned some of the industries down at the port, it also changed the amount of cars that they are able to handle every day. And as a result, I had to actually go back and edit how many cars were ordered and which cars they were and all that. So I reset them all, and as a result, there's only going to be a few cars delivered right now down to the Tidewater port. But again, that's a direct result of me adjusting the industries and having to adjust how many cars they get every day. Now you'll see here that the cars are doing a little bit of a wobble and a depression there on the entrance into the yard. I thought, well, I can go back and fix that, but at the same time, how many times have you seen railroad tracks that are rather wobbly? They're not actually straight. And some of them, it's amazing, they can actually drive trains on there in such what appears to be bad repair. So I decided, well, let's just leave it in. I kind of like it, as long as it doesn't interfere with the operations. So sit back, relax, and let's watch Donald do his thing. So I believe this is session number 19 on my Tidewater Railroad. We're still on day one, and I see about at least maybe 3 more videos to complete the first day. We have another CSX train coming in from Chicago. We'll be dropping off some cars. And we also have a bunch of cars that need to go up to river point, and that'll be done later in the evening. And then we'll have a train bringing some cars back from River Point to Tidewater. That'll probably be done on the same train. And of course, those cars that got delivered up there have to be delivered to the industries as well. So there's going to be at least 3 more videos, maybe 4 or 5, I don't know, we'll see. But we're getting through this first day of operation here on the Tidewater Railroad. Now, when you hook up locomotive cars, I think you're supposed to be doing like maximum of 4 miles an hour, preferably 3 miles an hour or less. And I don't know if it was just because I was so frustrated at the way things had gone that I was actually a little bit reckless. Barely got the train slowed down there in time. I don't think I crashed or broke any knuckles or got written up by the company, but I was operating a little bit fast when we were hooking up some of these cars throughout the day. Now these hopper cars are being set out here on what I have labeled the eastbound track. So trains coming into the east will pick these up on their way over to Detroit. But there's some cars that would be picked up by CSX and others will be picked up by Norfolk Southern. It would be nice to have separate tracks for each of those, but there just isn't enough room right here at Tidewater, at least right now, but we'll get by. So down at the west end of the yard, we are watching Jane, and she's going to hook up to this very short cut of cars that are destined to the Trenton warehouse down at the Tidewater port. And I think originally there was probably, I'm guessing maybe 9 or so cars, 8 or 9 cars that were in this cut. But because of the rearrangement of the Tidewater port, the Trenton warehouse now has a lot fewer slots for cars, so we had to readjust things. And as a result, she's just bringing a short string of 3 cars. There was another big bump in the track work there, and that one's probably a little bit excessive, but for the time being, I'll keep it in. Also, one of the viewers made the suggestion and asked the question if I was going to put the bumpers on some of the tracks up on the industries to the north, and it's something I knew I had to do. I just didn't get around to doing it, but I went ahead and finished that off, so there's not just a dead-end track with no bumpers. So that's been fixed. The other thing that I really dislike is the way they've put those crates on those flat cars. Now that's called general goods. There's no way in the world a railroad is going to stack those up like that on a flat car. So I've got to look for either using other cars or put a different, more realistic load on the flat cars, because that looks ridiculous. Another thing I need to change is the speed limit. I thought this was already set, but you'll see the speed limit here is 15 miles an hour as they head down this long lead heading down to the port area. However, the speed limit should be 25 miles an hour. And looking at this, 25 miles an hour, they seem to be booking a lot faster than that, but even they're right around 25 miles an hour. So I may need to readjust that speed to maybe 20, because look at that. Does that look like 25 miles an hour to you? So I need to change the speed limit so that it shows the right value and maybe change it to 20. I don't know. We'll see how that works. Now Jane has already made a couple trips down to the port today, and the way I see this is that she just kind of comes down here on an as needed basis. When she has some cars building up in the yard, she'll bring them down here. Is that prototypical? What do you guys think? Should she be coming down less often to make it safer for people walking around the area, or just show up as needed the way she's doing it right now? I'm not sure what the prototypes do in these situations. Another thing I've done is I've gone and replaced a lot of the street lights that came with the original jointed rail game. They had this ridiculous looking cone coming out of the light area, came down several feet and then just stopped, didn't illuminate the ground at all, and it just looked really strange. So anyways, I replaced all the street lights. You can see they put a white, almost like a spotlight on the ground. They don't illuminate the objects themselves, they just change the color texture on the ground. But if the light was shining on, say, a building or the railroad cars or something like that, they don't illuminate. They just get almost like a negative image. But I still think they look a lot better than the originals. One thing I would like to do is add a lot more people down in these working areas. I mean, these industries are employing a lot of people, and they're going to be out there walking, talking, doing their jobs. And I put some in, but they need a lot more. And it'd be nice to have more animated figures too, so I'll eventually get around to looking for those. Like this guy pulling that little hand car with the pallet on it. He's just standing there. He'll be standing there the next time we come back. It'd be nice if he could move along this loading platform, just to bring it to life. Same thing with the high-low you see in the distance there. I'm pretty sure that they do have animated ones, so I'll have to look into that to see if we can get a little bit more life down here to the Trenton warehouse. So Jane has dropped her cut of 3 cars off here. They'll be unloaded, And she'll go off now to Chuck's coal depot. The coal hoppers over there have been unloaded. She'll drag those empties back up to the yard, put them on the eastbound track, where eventually Norfolk Southern heading east will pick those cars up. The ship over on the right there, it's just really, really well modeled. I love the way they got the rust on it. But the other nice thing is, if you look real carefully, you can see it actually bobbing up and down in the waves. So it's nicely animated. The other ships that I have over here at the port don't do that, but that is really a well modeled ship. I use my rail driver to change that switch position there, which is kind of nice. You have to use the mouse less to interact with the game. Just got to remember whether you're going forward or backward. I think it's the J key that does the next switch, and Shift J or Control J, I can't remember, that does the previous switch. And you'll see in a little while, you'll hear a little donk donk sound as I try to make the switch, but I was hitting the wrong button. But anyways, that makes it kind of nice where you have to use your mouse less. I still can't get over how immersive this game is, and looking at the shadows of the trees on the buildings there. I mean, you can see the individual leaves. It's really, really cool. So if they can put shadows on the buildings, why can't they have the lights of the spotlights and the street lights illuminate the buildings as well? Seems like somebody should be able to do that. Now, I love the fact that there's an EOT device on the end of this train. I don't know if that light illuminates at night. I'll have to check that out. That's pretty cool. And I know JR makes one that you can add to your consist. I thought what a great detail that is, now that we're in the age where we don't use cabooses. I added a Starbucks coffee and that Dairy Queen there on the left. I figured, hey, all these workers over here have to have someplace they can go for lunch, right? So a nice little touch there in the port area. Well, I hope this video finds everybody doing well. We are having some absolutely stunning late spring, getting close to summer weather here in Michigan. Hope you're all doing well. And we're a couple days away from Memorial Day weekend. And I want to thank all the people who have served our country in the military. Appreciate your service. I actually spent 13 years in the Air Force, so I appreciate everybody's dedication to serving the country. And Memorial Day also means the Indy 500, and I am a racing fanatic, basically. So really looking forward to watching that race. Anyways, hope everybody's doing well. Now, as we leave the port area here, we will thankfully be able to turn that bell off and accelerate up to 25 miles an hour. Tell me what you think. Do you think that 25 mile an hour limit is too high for this little stretch here? There's nothing there. There's no industries. There's no roads. There's no pedestrian traffic. Should it be 20? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. This view is from up by the engine facility up in the yard, looking down on that lead track into the port area. Kind of a cool view. Now this ship here is one of the 4 that I have plying the St. Clair River. And she does not have much freeboard. If there's much waves, boy, she's going to be taking some fresh water, some green water over her decks. I wouldn't want to be operating on that deck. Another thing I need to work on, which one of the viewers pointed out, is that these signals don't seem to be operating correctly. And even though the switches are thrown in the correct direction and there's no trains on the track, you're still giving a red signal at a lot of them for some unknown reason. So that's something I need to go back and fix. Now, as Jane clears the switch, I was trying to use my rail driver again to throw that switch in the correct direction, and you'll hear it kind of make a weird, almost like a game sound. But that was because I was hitting the wrong button. Yeah, the switch ahead doesn't depend on what end of the locomotive you're on. It's what direction the locomotive is facing. I should have been hitting the switch ahead, because that's the way the locomotive is facing, rather than the one behind. So I threw that one by hand, but I know what mistake I made now. I'm sure you guys have noticed that that one silver hopper there in the middle of this cut of cars has a different configuration at the bottom. It doesn't have the normal chutes. It has a curved section, and I'm not sure if that's like for a rotary delivery system or if that's designed to deliver wood chips or whatever. If anybody knows, is that a coal car? Is that a specialty car to use for some other kind of product? Let me know, because I certainly don't know what the difference is, but it does look much different from the normal hoppers delivering the coal. Well, I do have to admit that since I changed the way the trains are operating and not having a specific grain train and a specific coal train, the yard is filled up and it looks a lot better, I think, to have some traffic in the yards. So I think that worked out really well. So as Jane hooks up these empty hoppers to this cut of cars, all destined to go east, she's approaching the end of her duties for right now, and we're approaching the end of this video. So once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate the comments people have made. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and we'll see you next time.